Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Partner First, presented to you by OITVOIP and Words That Go Together. Having a little bit of a tongue twister today. As always, I'm Ray Rossini, and we are joined by experts in the community, subject matter experts, thought leaders, and other notable mentions that are bringing thoughts to our MSP community. Things you should know. And today is no different. Today I'm joined by my good friend, Jimmy Hatzell of Quickpass. How you doing,
Hey,
Jimmy?
Ray. I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, man. And for those that don't know, formerly known as Jimmy from Barracuda, Jimmy from Scout, Jimmy from you name it. He's had a storied, he's had an awesome past getting stuff done for different companies. You were the first head of marketing, channel marketing for Scout. Was that right?
Yep. That was me.
And then you worked in the IT space in healthcare before that. So you're one of us. You're not one of those shady vendors.
Yeah. Fell into marketing by accident completely.
With full
Tech guy
degrees
first.
from Penn State, right? Nittany Lions. Is that
Yes. Yeah. I have a
awesome,
degree
dude?
in cybersecurity, degree in information systems
So
as
you know
well.
a little bit of what you're talking about today, and today, as always, these are not death by PowerPoint. These are not hard sells of any product. Actually, what Jimmy's going to be talking about today is his subject matter expertise on sales processes. But you know, we needed to give the fair due. Jimmy, you are with Quickpass. Why don't you give us a little background on Quickpass real quick for the very few that don't know?
Yeah, sure. And just so I can get another thing clear why I look like I'm in like a hotel break room. I'm actually at a trade show right now. I'm at Robin's uh, boot camp, Robin's big seminar.
Nice.
I'm in the break room, the sponsor break room. So I'm sitting here. I've got like this random gradient ridiculous design T-shirt next to me, and they're playing the main stage in here as well. So. Um,
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
so but about Quickpass, so we're privileged access management for MSPs. We work with all MSPs directly. We can streamline security inside your organization, your help desk. We work specifically with privileged accounts and password resets and the security of your end users. Basically everything at the authentication level. So we can end, password resets or at least cut them down by 85 to 90%. So you should definitely talk to us about that because password tickets, they're not the hardest. They don't take the longest, but they are the most urgent almost every time. And when they come in, you got to stop what you're doing to solve it. So we can help you with that. And we can also help secure most privileged accounts, admin, accounts for Office 365 tenants, local admins, service accounts. We can rotate your passwords. We can integrate with popular MSP tools such as Hoodoo or IT Glue and various PSAs as well. So come talk to us. You want to learn more about it. I'm not gonna go super into it, but privileged access management for MSPs. That's us at Quickpass.
Nice. I appreciate that. Hey, Dallin, how you doing, man? Yeah, no, it's whatchamacallit, and I'm a little jealous that you're in Nashville with our good friends, Lifecycle Insights. I know is over there. I saw Marnie, and I think Matt Lee's over there too, and Vince from
Who
Dark
has a
Cube.
better hat, me or her?
No, you, man, of course,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay.
Marnie's not watching, right? So, but I agree with Tim. I love the hat, man. Love the hat. So I appreciate you joining us despite being on the road.
Sure, happy
I know
to.
if anybody could do it, you're the guy that could get it done. So I appreciate it. So we're talking about creating a cybersecurity sales process, and it's interesting because we talked about, you have your IT background, right? You have your degree in cybersecurity and IT. Typically IT people aren't the best people to do sales and marketing, and yet you've made a career out of marketing, which is pretty awesome. Dallin agrees your hat is the coolest. So whatchamacallit, but you've made a career out of marketing, and has that colored your IT background? Has that colored at all, like how you approach marketing, how you approach sales?
Yeah, absolutely. And when I came in first, I actually worked in sales before marketing, back in the Scout days. And I came in leading with too much technical, just wanting to jump right in, go off the deep end. And it was a sales process, a cybersecurity sales process that really helped me get a framework of things, have a like a clear set of instructions on what to do, how to follow them, how to improve, measure things, and also like what questions to ask, and keeping them a little high level as well. So it certainly it was a drawback at first, but then it became a big positive, as I started to mature, in sales and then in marketing as well. And I'm tripping on my words a little bit because I'm cracking up watching the comments come in.
Yeah, we got Tim Golden saying, cybersecurity is scary, and this is the compliance guy, right? This is the guy that's supposed to know all the Tim knows everything compliance. He's literally the expert. And you have Dallin saying ice cream's easier, and then we have our good buddy that keeps misspelling his name. He keeps calling himself Drew Hackworth. We all know it's Drew Hacksworth. Drew, please correct your own spelling. So Jimmy from Scout, Jimmy from Barracuda, Jimmy whatever. So, which, you know what I mean? Like, which we call it. If we're gonna do that, I mean, I think that's like your mob name at this point, right? Jimmy whatever.
I guess so. I guess so.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. All right, so Jimmy, whatever. So we do have a little bit of a deck. I'll do some housekeeping. This is recorded as always, whatchamacallit, available immediately on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, million other places. But we do have some actual like data to go on, and maybe at the end we'll tell you where he got his awesome hat from. So. So you want to share your deck and
yeah, you know what, I got the deck. I'll flip it open, but I actually prefer this back and forth. So
no,
how about,
we'll be talking.
Yeah, so let me just I'll look at it as a reference. And because I'm in the hotel and I only have one screen, I'm used to like 7, so
that's I can't get used to working in the field like that. Yeah, my hat's off to you, man.
Yeah, so let's first let's define what we're talking about today. Yep. So when I'm talking about sales process, like this happens all the time in the IT world. We talk about the definitions of things, and people think we're talking about one thing, but we're actually talking about another because people call the same thing different things. So sales process is a set of steps and processes to complete a sale, and I'm talking specifically about like the first demo meeting, or like the meeting where you're explaining your services. What I'm not going to be talking about today, which is a sales process, is like the different lead stages, right? So you see like MQL, SAL, SQL, opportunity pipeline, and how to measure that. That stuff's important, but that's like you can do that a million ways. It's like math, and it all depends on the data you have, but so basically, sales process is a set of tools, set of instructions on how you go about your sale. And there's a bunch of different stages to it. You want to start out with a warm-up or discovery, like we do whenever we get on this. How are things going? How are things in Nashville? Blah, blah, blah. And then the discovery is going to be the first step, the most important part of things. And that's where you're going to want to spend about 90% of the meeting, 85 to 90% of the meeting. And people balk at that all the time, or people will shake their head. Yes, okay, you spend 80 to 90% of the time asking them questions, getting them to talk. But when it comes to actual reality, a technical person like me will default to talking about our different services or our systems or the technology, the speeds and feeds, if you will. And it's really, really difficult to stay in that part. But at the end of the day, I want to call out real quick,
if you don't mind. I want to call out real quick. Dallin mentioned something where he's saying it's good to be good. It's hard to be good at sales and IT at the same time, because IT is normally systems and processes, sales normally people, different skill sets. But it sounds to me like you're not really saying that. You're saying, and I'll push back on Dallin a little bit. Sales has some pretty strict processes if you're doing it right. It's just the art of delivering on them is a little bit different, right? And that's kind of what you're saying here. You're talking discovery, yeah, you're doing the talking and the blah, blah, blah. It's hard not to fall into this selling, oh, I have this RMM and I have this PSA and I have this AV or whatever. It's hard to do that, but there's still a very strict process you go through when you're doing sales.
Absolutely. And as my good friend Jeff Benedetti always says to me, who was a former VP of sales at Scout, he's at Titan HQ now, Sales is 50% science and 50% art. So there is that talking, that like convincing people and having the conversation and all that, but half of it's science and really sticking to your process, sticking to math. Like, there's the volume game, making sure if you want to get this many sales, you got to do, this many meetings, and to get this many meetings, you have to do this much, blah, 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 blah. So it is 50%, if not more, science, which is the technical stuff, which is what we follow. And I hope I'm not lagging too much. I got some notifications saying that my connection is unstable or something. So I hope
It's okay. It's
you can see
with,
me.
with these streaming,
Okay.
there's always a little bit of overlap, but we're used to it, so don't worry about it, man.
Um, yeah, but so there's basically two things you need to do, right? You need to, in a sale, just of anything in general. The first thing is you need to convince your prospect that they have a problem with something. So, yeah, there you go. Thanks for pulling up slides. So you need to convince them that they actually have a problem. And a lot of people will skip this step. Um, they'll move on and start talking about their services before they're even convinced that they actually need your services or that they have an IT or a cybersecurity problem. And then the second thing that you need to do seems simple, but you need to convince them that you are the solution to their problem, that your services will actually help them, solve whatever IT or cyber problem that they have. So there, you can have a lot of steps to a sales process. I think it should be as simple as possible, maybe 5, 6 steps at most. But at the end of the day, your steps are just going to be breaking down these two things. So if we can go forward a little bit, we can talk about, let me just see.
I mean, and that's just good advice for everything, right? Don't overcomplicate it. Don't just, you know. But I can say not overcomplicating is not. It's a matter of experience, right? You don't have to have 40 years experience, like Carrie's saying, doing this. But but you do have to have a couple hundred or a couple thousand times of repeating the same elevator pitch or the same conversation. You can do that in the mirror, as awkward as it is, but it's just got to be comfortable. And once you do that, it becomes muscle memory. It's not that complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I say it again and again and again, like, the default of a technical person like myself, and maybe like you too, Ray, is to just, go into more and more technical stuff and over explain things. And at the end of the day, we're just convincing someone they have a problem with IT and cybersecurity, which in theory shouldn't be that hard because everyone has a cyber problem, but it actually is harder. We're going to talk about our services and how we do that. The first thing is they have to actually believe that they have a problem. So how do we do this? Let's go to step 1 here. Convincing your prospect that they actually have a problem. And the way with discovery, discovery, discovery. You just have to ask them a lot of questions.
Can you just like walk in and say, "It's not me, it's you"? Just tell them, "Listen, I know you don't like it, but you're going to have to use MFA. It's definitely you. You're going to have to change for this to work together." Do clients go for that? I mean, it's been a while since I've been in sales.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm breaking up a little bit here. I'm gonna try refreshing, so I'm gonna drop off for a second.
Yeah, no worries. And while we're waiting for Jimmy to come back, Tim's saying it's me. So it could be. It absolutely could be, or it absolutely could be you, depending on how you're taking that. And it's exactly right. Like you're saying, Carrie, talking to a mirror is more awkward than talking to a customer, which is exactly my point. Like the more you do it, if you can get past that, and I think that's what you're alluding to, if you can get past that talking to a mirror and feel comfortable there, you're going to feel comfortable talking to anybody on the planet. That little bit of nervousness never goes away. I can tell you, I've done stuff in front of 10,000 people. I've given presentations in front of 2 people because that's all who showed up. The nervousness is the exact same for me, regardless of the audience. Or even doing a one-on-one, trying to sell a client or do discovery because you just met somebody and you're bored and try to sell. And that's something I've always done, by the way. Like I'm awkward at parties. I'm awkward at like going and meeting new people. So I would force myself when I do networking functions to like try to do a sales pitch. they're a random person, they're a stranger. It's what's the harm? You know, it wasn't somebody I was prospecting to anyway. Just go out and actually just try to sell them. I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you, dude. Drew, you're on mute. There you go. Whatchamacallit, I'm going to leave Drew's question for when Jimmy's back up 100%, because actually I think that's a really good comment. You back with us, buddy?
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know if you can throw me into the show now.
Yeah, you're good, man. You're on the show. You're live. So so Drew asked the question, where do you find the balance between FUD and advocacy, right? Because they're going to bring up stuff that may be relevant. They're going to bring up stuff that, you know, probably is not, right? Like the event log. I had somebody call me and say, look at my event logs. You know, it's tempting to sell on all of that, right? Like, but we're good people. We're not going to do that. So how do you balance it?
Yeah, so it's part of a sales process is maintaining control of the conversation. So if you really have a sales process down to a science, you should know exactly how things are going to go. You should be able to have in your head, we're going to talk about this for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to talk about this for about 5 minutes. We're going to talk about this for about 6 minutes, and then I'm going to show them, you know, the price and the offer and things. And to do that, you have to be really good about deflecting things. So you can say things like, that's a really great point. You know, I love that. And actually, you know, we're going to cover that a little bit. I just want to ask you a couple questions about your business. The key is to get them talking about themselves, because again, we're convincing them that they have a problem with cyber. And you know, like I have right here, you want to act sort of like you're the doctor or the concerned friend sending someone to the doctor. So if you think you go to the doctor's office and you know, they sit there and they've got like their clipboard up or whatever, and they're like, okay, you know, I just want to ask you a couple questions. You know, we checked your vitals. You have, you know, your weight, your height, blah blah blah. How many drinks do you have a week? You know, oh, have you been eating fruits and vegetables? What medications are you taking? All these different things. So it's not FUD, right? It's not like we're gonna go in and be like, oh, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're gonna get hacked. It's like I'm a little concerned, and I just want to get an overview of your business. So the second part is going to be about like convincing them that you're the person for that. So you have to create authority and show that you're an expert in cybersecurity. And you can do a couple things like talk about cybersecurity. You can break things down. You can talk about recent attacks. But you know, there is, if you're approaching things from that doctor perspective, like, you know, I'm here like as a professional that consult, you know, consulting style sale. It's going to be less about fear, less about scare, but you can show a level of genuine concern without saying, if you don't do this, you're going to die tomorrow. So that's how I like to look at it.
That's one of the things, you know, I like very much, and we're going to avoid the how many drinks question, given that we were both on Tech Bar last week. So, yeah. But you know, that's one of the things, going back to your, you know, 5 minutes on this, 10 minutes on that. Simon's been on my sales calls. He knows firsthand. I will sit there and I know where the conversation, I've talked to him about leading the conversation. It's not that you're not genuinely interested in their answers. It's not that you're not genuinely interested in what they want to say. You absolutely do. That's part of sales, but you're going to lead the conversation. And I can almost answer for them 9 times out of 10. I know where the conversation is going to go. I know if I say this, they're going to ask that. And those leading questions, stuff like that, that's part of the process. That's part of getting that cadence, that flow down, that comfort level, that muscle memory, so that you can have those conversations with them to make it productive. Because otherwise, you know, it can become a giant shit show if you're just going all over the place. You want to have that structure, you know, and whatchamacallit. So I want to get your opinion on this. I have my own opinion on Carrie's comment. But he says, and never ask yes, no questions.
Yeah.
What say you, Jimmy?
You shouldn't. If you go back up to the questions that, you know, I had up, you know, they're very open-ended. You want to get them talking about their business. So you can like if they're already a current customer, if you worked for them before, maybe they're on break fix or something, you're trying to get them on managed service contract. You can say like something like, listen, I know I've worked for you for a long time. I know you make, widgets. You've had this widget factory for a while, but it's been a while since you really explained things. And for me to, give you proper security and for me to really understand what you care about, I just want to get like, can you just explain your business to me the way you would to, someone who's never heard about it before? And this does a couple things. One, it gets them talking, you're listening, and you get the opportunity to ask more and more follow-up questions. Another thing, people just want to talk about themselves, right? People want to answer questions. They're proud. It's their business. In most cases, in
Absolutely.
SMBs, they're the owner. They've been working on it for a long time. It's their thing. So then you ask them about like, what are you working on this year? Like, what are your big things? That'll like you in your head, you're learning, where there are opportunities for upsell. Because if you become, you're positioning yourself from a cost center, this is something that I have to spend money on, to this is the thing that's going to help me get my 3 initiatives. This is the thing that's going to help me grow my business. Um, and you want to take them through this journey, of course, and there's many different assessment tools. There's lots of different things that people use, but you generally want to go through like their different technologies, and that's where that like doctor persona is going to really come in and be helpful. And then talking more about cybersecurity specifically, you can like, I've been on so many of these. I've sat on the calls with partners back in the day. Used to do like a little bit of direct and get on, and people will lie, right? Have you ever had a
Oh yeah.
problem with cybersecurity before? They will say, oh no, we've never had a problem. I don't get why we have to spend money on it. Oh well, have you ever gotten any fishy emails? Or well later in the conversation it always comes out, but you got to get them talking more. And also, it's embarrassing to people are
Oh
embarrassed
yeah.
when they got hacked by, their ransomware. Their email got hacked, and then sent things to accounting. They accidentally wired money to someone they weren't supposed to. So people don't want to talk about it, but when you like level the
Well,
playing field and you start talking to them,
that's why you
it'll
have
come
to
out a little more.
develop that rapport, right? You have to develop that
Yeah.
relationship with them. They have to trust you. Selling IT is hard enough because you're kind of selling, the pain points are visible, but the discovery process is as much about you discovering the problems with them, but getting them to acknowledge the problems they have and to see it. Sometimes you don't realize it until you say it out loud. But they're not going to be honest with you until they trust you. It's funny. I look at your sales process, and obviously you are much more adept at this. I'm just an idiot engineer that, kind of built an organization. But like my sales process, I've always said, get past the gatekeeper, or discover the client, get past the gatekeeper, talk to the client, build a rapport, discover the problems, create a solution, close the deal. But that, it's very much mimics what you're saying though. It's, if they don't trust you, they're not going to tell you. And then looking at the cybersecurity side, the pain points aren't as visible, right? Now it's a preventative doctor versus a reactive doctor. It's, how can we prevent these things that you may or may not have seen? And it goes back to that FUD question that Drew was saying, right? It's like, we need to protect you from this stuff, and you may or may not have been hit from it, but I still need to get you aware of it, that it's a problem, and I can sell it. And those things are only going to happen from asking the questions and getting the customer to acknowledge outright, out loud, oh yeah, we do transactions that are a couple $1 million a month, and we send emails with the transaction details, and I could see how that could be a problem if we were to get hit. Sometimes they don't know their downtime risk unless you say it out loud. It's not FUD, it's reality. It's getting them
Yeah.
to acknowledge it.
And that question in there, what do you think is the most important data that you want to protect? Like, it's worded in a way that you probably wouldn't say it this way, and some of this might come out in the business overview. But like a rude awakening or a reality that a lot of people need to hear is that your prospect does not really give a shit about like your stack that you're super proud of, right? Like, oh, we got Sentinel-1 and Huntress and blah blah blah. And we got all this cool cyber stuff, and we're gonna protect you with it. Like, they don't care really. What they do care about is the things that they actually want to protect. So if you're just selling your specific cyber stack and your policies and procedures that you're using, we got Quickpass, we're going to protect all your passwords. Sure, that's cool, but you need to figure out what they actually care about protecting, and then only talk about those things, because that's the only thing they actually want to care about, and that's how they'll admit that they have a problem. So, for example, you could be talking to a healthcare company, and you're talking about your stack. You're going to train users on security, blah 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 blah. You could assume that you know what data they want to protect, right? You could assume it's PHI, you could assume it's social security numbers, things like that. But if you don't ask them, you won't know that they have this other research division that you didn't even know exists that generates, most of their revenue. And if that, and there's like, hackers from other systems, or maybe they have like, some VIP client list and they have like Obama and Trump's medical records somewhere, right? Like they'll start to tell you these things when you start asking these questions. And then you're having a conversation. Okay, I'm going to protect your business because I'm going to protect the medical records of, your VIP clients, or I'm going to protect your research division from state sponsored actors, instead of like, here's our security stack and here's how we blah, 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 blah. So you really want to frame it around that stuff. And then once you have that discussion about them, then it's time to ask them whether or not they agree that they have a cyber problem. Because if they don't think they have a problem, they're not going to buy from you. They're not going to buy from you. So people will laugh at this. People will skip this because they think it's a little gimmicky. But I think you should just ask, like, do you agree that cybersecurity is a problem for your business? Because if you don't, there's no point of moving on. Okay, like
Oh,
if they say
absolutely.
no, it's
Yeah.
not a problem. Go back in discovery or walk out the door, because you're not going to sell anything. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing. You have to be on the same page, right? You have to both acknowledge there's some problem to solve, because if not, I look at the MSPs that talk every single day about the client doesn't want to do this, or that we hear it all the time. Like you see it on Reddit, you see it in the socials. Oh, the client, have a client sign a disclaimer form saying they're acknowledging they're assuming the risk, and you're no, that client that's fighting with you tooth and nail will always fight with you tooth and nail. Identify it up front as to the client that's going to work with you. You need to be on the same conversation, and when you are, that's such a better client. I mean, I'll extend this past just cybersecurity to all MSP sales. Period. Sell to the
Yeah.
client that wants to work with you. Stop trying to convince them otherwise. Because if you're trying to sell steak to a vegan, it's going to be an uphill battle nonstop. It's just not worth the headache.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So say you've gotten a yes. They agree that they have a problem with cyber. They need, they have an IT problem, whatever you're selling. Now you have to convince them that, you can actually help solve their problem. This could be mistaken for convince them to buy, but whatever. They just have to, they know they have a problem. They have to be convinced that you are the right solution to said problem. So when we think about this, keep it more high level. It becomes a little easier to digest.
I
So good.
I can't Dallin, I agree with you 100%. Drew, no matter how right you are, the views of Drew Hackworth do not necessarily reflect those of MSP Media Network or OIT VoIP or
Mm.
Quickpass. But
You're
not bad
talking to
advice.
one right now.
Are you? That's right, you are. You know what? I totally forgot about that. I did you bring any more sparkly drinks with you? Any more candle
No,
drinks?
no, I didn't. I didn't.
Yeah, well, you are my one and only favorite vegan, Jimmy. So we'll give you a pass.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
the one, the anti-vice, right? I'm the one guy, right?
I, I I don't think you can be a vegan because you haven't told me 92 times that you're vegan. I've known you way too
I
long at this
know, I
point.
know.
So yeah. All right. So you convinced them. They agree. How can you convince them? Like, how do you tell them? Hey, I got the solution,
Yeah.
right? Because there's people that just don't want to hear it, but you can't close the deal if they don't hear it. So how do you get there?
So the first thing you want to do is establish credibility. And there's a bunch of different ways to do this. You could talk about, your different clients who you have, what you know about cyber. You can review like basic cybersecurity principles, best practices. You can talk about, your business, how long you've been in business, all of that stuff. You know how to do this, I'm assuming, because everyone does this and everyone overdoes this. So you need to do it a little bit. You don't need to like spend all the time on this. People think that they need to spend the whole meeting convincing them that they're, the most credible. You just need to do it a little bit and establish yourself as a cybersecurity authority.
So I don't need to tell them I've been doing this for 35 years and like give them my 15 pages of resume and, bring 2 testimonials with me, like live person testimonials. And, I don't need to do all that to establish credibility.
No, no, you don't need to, read them your doctoral thesis you wrote in 1992 about whatever computer science.
So can you give me, so let's make this practical, right? Like, can you give me how you would establish credibility with me? Like
Yep.
we can role play a little bit, you know, you're trying to convince me I have a problem and you possibly have a solution. How do you convince me? I'm the MSP, for example. How do you convince me that I should listen to you?
Yeah, sure. So if I'm the MSP and you're a client, I'm going to say, I work with a lot of different clients, and we provide cybersecurity to them. I just like to give, all my clients some recommendations. Whether or not you become a customer of ours, I just want to give you some basic cybersecurity recommendation on cyber hygiene. You can take it. You can use it. You don't have to be a customer of ours. I just think it's a lot of people have been asking, so I've been talking to everyone about it. So first thing you need to do in cybersecurity is establish the systems and information you need to protect most. So in your case, we talked about this earlier. It was, your HR system. You said that was very valuable, and the credit cards that you store on, file. Blah blah blah. The second thing you need to do is build protective rings of security, or layer, what we call in the industry, layered security around that data and that information. And the third thing you need to do is you need to have a process to actually know if you have a cyber problem. So once you layer in cyber tools, it's great. It's different layers of protection. But if you don't have a way to know that you actually have a cyber problem, or a way of setting off an alarm, or saying something's been breached, or a way to check, then you could be, you could have a cyber problem and never know about it until a client tells you that, hey, I got an email from you. And after that, I would always recommend following a framework, cybersecurity framework. There's a couple out there. I generally recommend NIST or CIS. And these are really important because it gives you something to point to and say, I'm following the cybersecurity best practices. We actually based our business and our cybersecurity stack to align with this NIST framework, which a lot of standards are based off of. So something like that. It doesn't have to be long, but you can establish that about cybersecurity things. You can talk to them in a very practical sense, give them information that's useful and usable right away. And that's what I would do. So hope that answers it.
Yeah, one of the things I've always liked to do, um, is giving the, what do you say, showing that we have shared interests. I personally follow, anybody that's spent any time with me knows my favorite quote is genius sees the answer before the question. It's Robert Oppenheimer. Yes, the Manhattan Project, but he also did good things, brilliant guy. But the whole point of the quote is that I'm going to answer questions before you ask them. I'm going to establish myself, my credibility, my subject matter expertise through our conversation by already knowing what's of interest to you, what's important to you, right? So one of the things I used to pitch to MSPs is, or when I was an MSP too, but I've talked about it a thousand times over, go after a specific niche, go after a specific vertical or something where you can become subject matter expert for it. So you can start talking, okay, well, I know in the legal industry, you have certain data retention requirements. So you have to hold for certain documents for X number of years, but you can do them on such and such things. So we can provide cost effective solutions for holding those documents. So it's not in a workflow that's not a burden to your staff. You're addressing these concerns before they vocalize them. You're making them discover the concerns. You're showing them you have a solution, which establishes your credibility, all without saying, I'm the man, I'm awesome. You know what I mean? You can do all those things. And that goes along with
Mm.
what we talked about in the beginning of this, having your schedule of things, your items, that your hit list that you're going to talk about during the conversation, of 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes here, of, if you know where the conversation is going to go, you can talk about these things, but you have to do the research on the subject first. You have to know what's important to them. And if you tell them, look, I'm going to give you a bunch of stuff that even if you don't go with me, these are actionable steps you can take to protect your business. I used to always tell people, if you have an IT company and you're happy with them, I don't want to take you away from them. It's so hard to find quality people, especially in Miami or whatever city I happen to be in at the time. I'm just going to give you some stuff. Let's talk about your business so you can take it back to them and have them work on it. what's really going to happen is they're going to go back to their MSP and be like, why didn't you bring the stuff up? Ray did, or whoever. And that's so important. Knowing the business, like Drew says, knowing the business, who they've started doing business with, and knowing the company will help you. Absolutely, 100% yes. So it's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, and this is actually a good point in the process to actually talk about what you do a little bit. So you want to review like what your offering is, 24/7 managed services, a number that they can call in, and if they have a problem, whatever the cybersecurity offering it could be Quickpass, it could be a stack of cyber tools, it could be something that you put together. But this is like the time in the meeting where you're going to want to review that. And they might have been asking you like along the way. So can you actually tell me what you do? Can you tell me what you do? And you'll get this question a lot, but you should counter this and push back a little bit and say, I will, and I'm gonna get to that, and I apologize. I just want to understand your business a little more, or ask a couple more questions so I can explain it in a way that makes sense to you. We do a lot of things and we customize things and tailor things to different businesses. So I want to make sure that I'm talking in a way or about our products and services that are best fit for your needs. And again, this is the second part, this credibility, and then actually talking about what is happening or what you do is where people are spending all of their time, where they should be spending a lot less of their time, because at the end of the day, like maybe you'll have some people who really want to understand every single thing, but they just want to know that their IT is taken care of and they're not going to have to deal with it. So, and that they're not going to have a cyber problem too. So that they're protected.
Yeah, I mean, just buy my service. You'll be fine 100%. Don't worry about it. It's like,
Yeah.
what could go wrong?
Yeah.
I want to bring up real quick because I'm getting DMs asking for the slide deck. This slide deck is available. Simon will put up the link put it in the chat, and he'll put it on screen. So for those of you that want that list of questions, besides that, asking just obviously, do you agree you have a cybersecurity problem for your business? Because the answer should always be yes. If not, you're in denial. But the other questions you can ask those, and the sales process, are all in that deck. So if you want to download it, please go there, and we'll have Jimmy's contact information at the end also, because you want to talk to Jimmy if you're not talking to him already.
Love that. Yeah, and then so the next thing you want to do is you want to fish out concerns. So you can say like, do you have any questions about what we've talked about? You'll hear them, like you can sense a change in their voice along the way. And you really want to answer as many of their questions as possible before getting into pricing and getting into objections. You want to flesh them out. And sometimes you'll hear, like, I don't have any questions, or I don't have any concerns, or whatever. Okay, then they're going to buy, right? But this isn't the case. So you should try to flesh out as much of this as early as possible.
That makes sense.
And
I mean, definitely don't. And one of the things I like to do is I like to, which I've found it impresses clients, is I like to reiterate, their concerns, make sure they understand that I heard them, right? Everybody hates those sales pitches where you're not paying attention, or they're not paying attention to you. Well, if you're writing down those concerns and you can reiterate them and say, okay, these are the ones we agree are a problem, it just cements that it cements your credibility, your rapport, it cements that relationship you're building with them. It's just good practice.
yeah, and then before you go into pricing and closing questions, you want to do what's called like a trial close. And basically what this is asking closing type questions before asking for the business and giving them pricing on it. So you can say things like a very popular one that you might have heard before that you can use some form as, pricing aside, does this seem like something that would work for your business? Does this seem good? And in that trial close, you're going to fish out even more concerns, because they might say yes, 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 I don't have any concerns, I like everything I'm seeing. But then you ask, pricing aside, is this going to work for you? Is this something that will work for your business? They might say, oh, well, actually we have this other office and I'm concerned about that. Or they might just say yes. And then we just agreed, right, that this is something that would work for them. And it's just a matter of whether or not the price works. And uh, Ray, pricing aside, would you agree that these are all of the things that you would cover in your sales process before getting to actual pricing conversation and cost conversation in the meeting?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's always the back and forth, right? You hear it so many times of, should I give pricing publicly? Should I not give pricing publicly? You know, I personally like to pre-qualify clients up front with budget, not with end price, because pricing is going to change, but with budget. You know, if I had my MSP website today, it would say something along the lines of, we work best with customers that have an established budget, you know, per employee, something along those lines, maybe with some bottom, you know, some floor pricing or high end pricing or whatever, just to qualify it. But I'm not going to. The idea with these calls is I'm not going to have pricing conversations until I have all this details. And every time they're going to bring it up, I'm just going to say, no, you know, we will absolutely get to pricing. I'm not leaving here without pricing, but I want to make sure I'm pricing the right thing. Let's get all these details first, and I promise you, I will give you pricing at the end. And that way, you just, yeah, it's pushing patience. That's all.
Yeah, and you know, you cover a good thing. You want to make sure that you're in the same budget and ballpark. Like a lot of people who get really frustrated with not hearing pricing is they're looking to buy something that they think should cost $100 and it costs, 2,000. So you can do some qualifying to figure that out ahead of time. But
Yeah,
then
I mean, Quickpass, for example, right? It's only $500 per person or something like that, or per PC. No, I mean it's, but you want to make sure they're in the right budget for your product. There's nothing wrong with that, and plus it avoids you wasting your own time with clients, right? You don't want to go somebody. It's the same reason I'm not marketing. You know, they don't market a cowboy steak at McDonald's. The average customer is not going to McDonald's for a cowboy steak. They'll go to a steak place, a steakhouse, or give me the vegan alternative. What's the vegan alternative to a cowboy steak?
I don't
There's
know,
got to be
like
something you like look forward to, like, ah, this is awesome.
I don't know, Indian food.
There you go. Yeah, you know, it's oh damn, now I want some garlic naan. Okay. So we need to keep this moving. I know what I'm eating for dinner tonight. Um but yeah, I mean, you address the concerns, you do all this stuff before you get to pricing, but you have to have some pricing conversation, right? Like,
Yeah.
are you the guy that sends it out after the fact, or you guy that gives it before you leave? Like, what's the,
No, no,
how
no.
do
I
you get
think you
there?
should always provide options. So we've just agreed that they want to work with you, right? Because they said that pricing aside, this is something that would work. So you can like, there's a lot of different opinions about this, and there's a lot of different packaging options. But you want to sort of give them. It could be two options. It could be three. I know some people like to just do flat rate for MSP services. This is what it costs. And
Mhm.
standardize things, and that's great. And if your sales process is set up that way, then good for you, and I think you should keep doing that. But my general recommendation is like, here's how we can get started today. It's gonna cover these types of cyber things. I really think you should be over here. It's gonna be your bigger cost thing, and what do you think? And then you'll start to hear feedback. Oh, well, I do want to protect those things that would be protected in that gold plan or whatever, in the cyber plus plan or whatever you name it. But
There
yeah,
we go.
avocado toast.
Avocado toast. There you go. Which I don't mind avocado. I like avocado toast. So I don't know if I look forward to it as much as a good T-bone or a cowboy, but or a tomahawk, but yeah, you
I'm
know.
cracking up because I'm taking a bunch of people to a steakhouse tonight, and I want like,
You know, and that just shows your creativity and your skill in the MSP space. As a vegan, you can still pick out and take people to a proper steakhouse. You could be, I don't want to call it dry because you were drinking something on Tech Bar, but like, and you're not the first. And I want to be clear, you're not the first person to not have alcohol in Tech Bar.
mm,
You know what I mean? So we welcome everybody, but at the end of the day, it's the conversation, not the food. But I'll still take a tomahawk if you're offering. Uh,
Yeah, but so with the provide options, you can say, we can start here, and maybe in 6 months or a year, we can get you to here, and you can create a plan with them and take them on the journey of how they're going to get secured. And you can say, cybersecurity is not some single product. We're not going to solve everything overnight. It's a process. It's an ongoing process. So, as long as I'm here to walk this cyber journey with you. It doesn't have to sound as corny as that, but you can say we can start with this. Like, let's get your email protected, your endpoints protected, and some cybersecurity training, and MFA on all your devices, because that's the bare minimum. And then over the next 6 months, we'll start rolling out these additional services. We're going to do better encryption. We're going to do add this second form of endpoint protection. We're going to add SOC services. We're going to add Quickpass. We're going to add all these things. But we're not going to do it all at once. We're going to work for it over time.
And that makes sense. I mean, having a game plan is fine. I mean, so whether you do discovery or whether you do onboarding projects, or, we used to do that. There's some clients that we would come in as the MSP, and the client was just way too far gone, where if you tried to do this within 30 or 90 days, you were going to completely disrupt the business. It was impossible, which is fine. That's not a client you have to fire. It's just a client you say, okay, well, we're going to agree to a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year plan, whatever, to get this, and we'll create a budget for it, but we agree that we're going to have a 2 year plan or whatever it is to get to where you need to be, and we're going to do it in these phases. You can still have the client agree to that without agreeing to every single project ever on day one. It's more about the plan than it is about actually having finished everything.
Yeah, and you're going to see this a lot with project work, especially in an MSP, right? Like, they need to get up to speed. Maybe they are still using on-prem Exchange, and some locations aren't, and some locations are, and you want to get them all standardized on O365 with ATP or some other email, more advanced email filtering protection, like Proofpoint, Barracuda, Inky, whatever, Scout. So, like, let's make this digestible, and then you can of course, like, there's a million ways to do that. You can flatten that out over time and work it into the managed service cost, or have the big capital expenditure cost in the beginning, or do one every 6 months or something like that. So you just want to show that you're a little bit flexible with them to win their business, because ultimately that's what you're trying to do. And if the difference between getting the big managed services contract is whether or not they go for this certain project within the first 6 months, or they do it next year, like, that's something you could work out to win the business, and start working together.
I see we're getting the real hard questions. We're getting, what does Jimmy eat at the steakhouse? I mean,
so this is a good one. I go to them all the time, because there's this one steakhouse, Rocco's, on Madison Ave. It's underneath my friend's apartment, and we go watch basketball games there all the time. And so if they don't cook the vegetables in butter, then they make me like a vegetable platter, and they usually like grill them out. There's always French fries, which I can always eat. And then actually Capital Grill, which I end up at a lot of MSP events, they always make me like this giant tray of grilled vegetables, and it's really good. So generally,
nice.
Vegetables and some form of fried potatoes.
Yeah, I forgot about that, because it's not even just like, so you're like hardcore, like no dairy products, nothing. Yeah, that we've had a few people that work for us, so like that were vegan, vegetarians, different dietary restrictions, either personal choice or religious or whatever. And it was always interesting creating, when we did company get-togethers or buying lunch or whatever. And it was kind of fun. Like, we'd let different people pick, and sometimes we'd let the vegan pick where we're eating for lunch and stuff like that, to open your palate and stuff. And it was definitely fun. Not saying I would do it again. I'd still, like I said, if anybody wants to send me another tomahawk, I'm open to it. But definitely cool. Whatchamacallit. BLT steak on 57th always hooked me up in my non-meat eating days. And even the famous or / infamous Drew Hackworth, I've been vegetarian before. And then he went back to chicken McNuggies.
The chicken McNuggies,
man.
yep.
Oh, those chicken McNuggies. So, we promised everybody, I know it's getting to the top of the hour, we wanted to ask the hard-hitting questions. I think we should start first with, where's the hat from?
So the hat is actually from here in Nashville. I bought it a couple years ago at one of the spots. I saw some question, no animal products at all. So no honey, dairy, or leather products. And I think I'm wearing a leather hat, so that is breaking the rule. I don't do honey, and I generally try to avoid leather, but it is very hard. because leather's in a lot of clothes.
So maybe this is should have been like tech bar content, but I'm genuinely curious now. I like to call the shots here. So on the vegan thing though, like I understand not eating animals. Like I understand the egg thing, dairy, honey, products from animals that are not doing harm to the animals. What's the reasoning behind that? I'm curious.
Well, to be honest, I did it for health, and I'm really
Okay,
allergic to dairy, so it pretty much made me sick. And I just kept doing it.
that's helpful.
Yeah, so that's pretty much why. But I don't know, because a lot of them get farmed too, so like it's not
Okay.
like, yeah, yeah. So I did it for health
Yeah, no,
reasons.
just my own curiosity. That's why, like the honey
Yeah.
thing kind of threw me. Like I understood the milk, I understood the eggs, and then when he said honey, I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, that one I would love to expand my knowledge there. So that's cool.
Well, there is
Um
the subsect, the vegans with a BEE, which do
hmm.
honey.
Okay, good to know. There's something for everybody. Um Jimmy, what's your favorite Indian dish?
That's a good question. So I go actually. There's this place, Papali, over on 27th, and Lex, and they make a jackfruit biryani, which is really, really, really good. You just tell them to make it vegan, and they will not put any ghee in it.
Very cool. So that's our sales process. That's our. I hope you've learned a little bit of everything today. What vegans eat at a steakhouse. What Jimmy's where his hat is from. What's his favorite Indian dish, and maybe more importantly, how to have a sales process and how to sell your cybersecurity. Jimmy, thanks so much for being on, dude. I appreciate you, especially you're a trooper, man. You were with us on Tech Bar last week. You come despite being in Nashville and on the road, you are still coming to us with a nice clear picture, good audio, giving us awesome information. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you for having me on. This has been fun. I always enjoy it. I love the banter that you always get. It's one of my favorite things. Love interacting with the audience. So thanks everyone for watching.
Absolutely. Hit them up at quickpass.com. It is actually a really cool solution. I was just talking with Everything MSP
Yeah,
about it
get
earlier.
quickpass.com.
Getquickpass.com. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize. I just advertised. I don't even know who the hell I advertised.
We'll get their domain eventually.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But getquickpass.com. Follow Jimmy on LinkedIn. Dude has a ton of very interesting content, as well as LinkedIn News was featuring some of your stuff recently. So I thought that was pretty dope. Generally very interesting guy to follow. And where are you going to be next? What's the next show?
Next week I will be in Boca Raton for a
nice.
Connect IT local, and then the week after that, Channel Pro in Chicago.
Nice, man. So if you're at any of those places, absolutely hit us up. Simon, we have some stuff coming up. What do we got coming up, dude?
Yes, we do. So we just got wrapped up with creating cybersecurity sales process. So if you guys want to catch up the recording, it'll be available right after this ends. Next week or tomorrow, or actually wait, Friday, Friday, April 22nd, we have MSP Dispatch Week Wrap Up presented by the MSP Media Network, hosted by Ray Orsini and Tony Francisco. On Monday, we have MSP Dispatch presented by the MSP Media Network again, just catching up with the channel news from the weekend. April 28th, we have the Tech Bar Podcast, episode 36, with Heather, Brian, and Faith Johnson of Gozinta. This will be our Family Feud episode. And April 29th, tune in for the MSP Dispatch Week Wrap Up presented by the MSP Media Network again. So.
Yeah, and Simon, I think Drew said it right there. I've been begging him. I offered to send him somebody with a credit card to take him to like Crate and Barrel, whatever, just to get some furniture. And
Drew, we're working on it, Drew. At least I got rid of the Dragon Ball Z poster. That's some progress. That's some progress.
Temporarily. All right. So I'm sure you got more sessions and stuff to do. Jimmy, thank you so much, dude. Maybe when you're in Boca, we'll get together, get some Indian. I'll drive up and we'll hang out for a little bit. All
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, Ray.
All right. Take care,
Yeah,
everybody.
everyone.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.